Are you guys ready for the big reveal? I have varnished the wobbly violin and we are about to find out what the color I chosen is. Hello and welcome to day 16 of the Green Violin Project, formerly known as the Wobbly Violin Project. As you can see, I have now varnished the wobbly violin, and the color I went for is green with a slight hint of blue. And yeah, the varnishing is now already complete, and unfortunately I didn't manage to do any filming while I was varnishing. I did try, but it was very complicated with the light, so that I could see what I was doing, and on camera it was possible to see the varnishing. So yeah, I did do a little bit of footage which isn't good at all. I might include like a tiny bit of it now so that you can see the first coats of colored varnish which I applied. But yeah, I might also not include any of it at all because the quality is really poor. But yeah, we'll just talk to you in that case about how I varnished this instrument. It was really interesting to varnish it to this color because it's actually quite hard to make a good looking green or blue violin. So it's really quite impressive, the people who manage really nice looking instruments with blue or green varnishes. That's like a real skill, really. But yeah, the first step which I did on this instrument is because I wanted, first I wanted, obviously as the project is, I wanted it to go fast. But also I didn't want to make the wood too yellow, because I knew that the more I had yellow in the woods, the harder it would be to get a good quality blue or green varnish on. So I decided to seal the wood using colophony, and it was colophony which we dissolved in acetone, and then I sort of wiped it on with a rag. I had the idea to seal the wood with colophony and acetone from my good friend Anthony Pankey, and we just wanted to try out this system. We had both never done it before, but we thought it might be great, and it seems to work quite well. The acetone is obviously super smelly and quite toxic, but it works quite well because I feel like the acetone really makes the colophony really soak into all the cells basically of the wood, and it really seals the wood really well. I might want to try to do the same thing with alcohol, with ethanol next time, just because it's less smelly and less poisonous, and I'm sure it should work also fairly well using colophony dissolved in ethanol. But yeah, so that was the sealing of the wood, colophony in acetone. And then the next step I did is I made 2 coats of clear oil varnish, and the varnish I used is a oil varnish which we boiled with 80% resin and 20% linseed oil. The resin was also just normal colophony, and the idea was to follow the fat over lean rule by having a ground or a wood sealer which is 100% resin, no oil, no fat whatsoever, and then over this have oil varnish with 80% resin, 20% oil. And then the third step of the varnishing was the color varnish. And for the color varnish I used again oil varnish, but this time with 60% resin and 40% linseed oil. And then I used at first only blue pigments, because the oil varnish in itself is, because of the linseed oil, fairly yellow. And if you just mix a little bit of blue pigments in it, it turns green automatically. It turns completely like grass green at first, and then you need to add a lot of blue pigments in there until it turns more or less blue. And that is where the real difficulty lies in varnishing instruments blue or green, or mainly blue, like people who really varnish instruments bright blue. That's really complicated because you need so much pigment in the varnish that it becomes like a little bit opaque and just very intense, so you can just see every mistake that you make while applying the varnish is just immediately visible. And I had quite a bit of difficulties. I don't know if you can perhaps see the scroll, like has really a few quite uneven spots and some visible brush strokes. But yeah, in the end it turned out fairly more or less okay. And what helped a lot was to dilute the varnish to a very runny consistency and to just apply very, very thin coats. That was in the end what helped me to get a few even coats of colored varnish. But yes, so far I have, according to my notes, 5 coats of colored varnish, as well as the 2 clear coats of non-pigmented varnish. So in total I have 7 layers of varnish. I think it's maybe slightly on the thick side of the varnish. I did add quite a few more layers than strictly necessary because I was trying to even out those unevennesses that I produced on. Mainly was the first coat, which I had a bit of trouble getting even. So yeah, I then tried to add more very even coats to try and even it out. The varnish is maybe now slightly thick, but it's okay, because the next step I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sand the varnish using probably micro mesh, but maybe also pumice. And then I'm gonna start polishing the varnish. Yeah. And then after the polishing, it will be already time for the setup. And this means that I hope that very soon I will be able to film the next video in this series, and that in this video we'll be hopefully able to play this violin and hear for the first time what it sounds like. So yeah, that was quite a lot of talking about varnish. I hope that you're interested in varnishing violins. In case you're not interested in varnishing violins, then you probably will have, you probably are by now regretting to have watched this video. But yeah, that's it. That's the green wobbly violin, and I will see you hopefully next time when we can play this instrument. Goodbye.